Hey there, everybody. Robert Taylor with Wonderscape Creations, continuing on with another video for the Ascent Combat Framework Ultimate Series, uh, specifically within combat. And today is the day that we'll be going over, for now, the final episode of the combat portion. As more gets added, I will add on to this. At this part, this episode is probably the one that most of you have been looking forward to the most. How do I control what and how the enemies and my companions do in each scenario and situation? Quite easy. It's called the ACF Combat Behavior, BP. Didn't know if it was a BP, but it apparently is. Um, so this right here controls it all. This is how everything is decided for us. So we are going to take the time to go over this particular thing. And if you noticed, we're going over this and it'll be the last one, and we haven't even touched the behavior tree. Obviously, if you want to, you can go through in there and edit things, add things, remove things, whatever you want to do. Just understand that you'll need to extend whatever work you've done in order to control it within the controller. So let's go ahead and get this going. Um, Obviously, right off the bat, you have the default combat behavior types, which is melee and ranged. Um, Took me a minute to wrap my head around the fact that um, magic can be either melee or ranged. And just remember, this is the starting point. It's the default. It doesn't mean they can't go into ranged. Default combat state: melee attacks, chase target; ranged attacks, study target, run away. Needs weapon. So, animals, they don't generally hold weapons, so that can be checked off. And then it needs to know which action for equipping ranged and melee weapons. And then for bosses and for generally anything else, engaging action. So you can set up an action that they will play once the fighting starts. So if you want the boss to, shout maniacally and then jump the several dozen yards to you, more power to you. You can set it up right here. So the next thing we have is the allowed behaviors. There again, it is only two: melee and ranged. So this the full AI controller only allows for melee. Um, I don't think any of the controllers have both. I could be wrong. I do know that you can have both because I've created enemies for the Super Secret Project that use both melee attacks and magic abilities. So I know it works quite well. Then you have here the combat state configuration. This just helps figure out at which point do you enter each state. So in this one, you have the combat state of melee attacks. The condition, which you can create your own, is distance action condition is below 150 centimeters. So 1.5 meters. If the enemy is within 1.5 meters, he will change to melee attacks. Trigger chance 100%. So you can mess with these things if you want. Then the locomotion state will be jog. Study is very much the same thing. He's using distance for a lot because distance is actually the most used condition that you will obviously use. Now, you can create blueprints. Let me go in here. That way I know to delete it. You can create it going through blueprints or in the ACF combat. No, AI conditions, action conditions. This will give you all of them. But if you know you want it to be a child of one of these, you can. When you click on this, it will give you the ACF action condition. Okay. When you open it up, you can start doing whatever you want. Is condition met? So you can set up uh, all the code in the world that you want, and then at the end of it, you can set up is condition met and set it to true or false depending on what you're wanting. Literally, how this whole thing works for you is an is condition met. Do whatever you want. Close that out so I don't forget to. Granted, I'll be deleting all of this once we're done with this series. So you have is below, then you have is nearly equal or is above. If nearly equal, then this will show up, so it'll keep it somewhere around there. That's how it works. And then chase target, again, it's a distance thing. I have used the which one is it? If you do the and action condition, then you can choose distance twice, so that you can keep them, say, within 2 meters to 10 meters. That way you can say below 10 meters and above 2 meters. That way you can keep things, you can literally keep things that's controlled if you want to. Then you have the or. You can literally use statistics and whatever you want. Sorry. You would then just set it and populate what you need to do, and you're ready to go. So once you have all of your combat state configurations done, you then come down to this next portion, which is the actions. So the combat itself, what abilities are used are determined, mostly, but not completely, by the state that it's in. There's also the conditions, actions by condition, which we will go over in a moment. So in this one, there is no possible study action. In others, it's that taunt. So, they take a step forward and thrust their sword into the air. That's what he's using for taunt. Then you have in the melee attacks, there's 2 attacks here. The heavy attack and the attack. That's all we have set up for the sample, because that's all that's really needed to understand it. So you have the allowed from direction. So if you, did this for a mini boss for Pask. I have right here, I did left only, and then I did it again for right only. Yeah, I did it for both of them. That because you can have the same attack with left only and right only if you need to, and it was a side sweeping attack. So, character thought that because all the attacks were going forward, if they went to the side and attacked from the side, that they would be safe. And there was also a behind the enemy attack. So there's a lot you can do if you understand how to utilize this. There's also every direction. So my only recommendation, if you're in C++, you can have left or right only, and front or back only. Just, I'm nitpicky there. So then you have behavior tree wait time. That's what BT stands for. So it's at 0.5, so half a second. So after it does the action, half a second stop before another one happens. So if you want a super aggressive enemy, have this really low, 0.1, 0.2. Don't do 0. That you could run into to issues at 0. Now, what was changed by a heavy request and voting system was this used to be a percentage thing. So this used to be you would put it at 0.75 and there would be a 75% chance that it would do this ability. And if it didn't, it would go on to the next one. So there would be times in which no abilities would go off, and that happens sometimes. You could always make it to where your weakest ability was at 100% at the bottom, and it would always be struck. But how it is now is everything is weighted. So you see this is at 0.5 and this is at 1. So now it's going to take 1 and 0.5, add them together and shrink it down to be between 0 and 1. And this is going to happen 66% of the time. This one, 33% of the time. On average, if it lasted long enough, obviously. So that's how the whole weighted thing works. I'm not sure what this is right here. Looks like there used to be an old state that was being tested. So we'll ignore that for now. Then you have actions by conditions. So you've seen the enemy jump at me or at the companion. And that's what is going on here. So the distance action condition is nearly equal 500, so 5 meters plus or minus 0.8 meters, front only, and it'll do the jump attack. It's 1.5 low. Now, as you can see, these are all low. It's fine. You can set these however you want. Just remember that if it's higher than a hit, and you want them to be hit, then that means they're going to ignore the hit animation to do the attack animation, and things could go wonky at that point. Then the final one is another distance for the action.ai time. Let's see. So is nearly equal 400 plus or minus 80. So that would go well with the study. We come back up here to the state configuration, and we come to study. So it's around. This is a little lower, but that's how everything is set up for the ton. That's how conditions are set up. So you have the actions that happen depending on states, and then the actions that happen depending on conditions. It's important to take note that you can have the same action here and here. It just means that once these conditions are met, it'll happen more often. This is how you would do boss phased fights, because of the statistic condition. So is health below this point? Okay, now these abilities can be used. You will need to do the code to make it to where as soon as they hit 50%, they do a transition action. It's something I myself have done. It was fun. It's interesting, really easy to do. So it's definitely something that I can go over in the future, um, if there are enough requests for learning how to do it. So that is literally everything for this combat behavior BP. It looks more overwhelming than it actually is. As you work in it, things will become more clear and it'll be easier to utilize. So please make sure you take the time to learn this, and do note that this is why I said to keep the actions generic where you can, because this means now, say you make this controller right here, as long as the enemies that you give this controller to only have these same actions, you don't have to make a second AI action controller or AI enemy controller. So generic is good here, where you can make it happen. Obviously, bosses are going to have their own controllers. There's just nothing you can do about that. But yeah, there is a lot of power in this controller. You just need to take the time to really learn how to utilize it. Again, obviously pulling out there. I don't think there are any down here. Nope, doesn't have anything extra. But you can go through and look at everything that they have and figure out how things work so that you can change things to your desire. That is everything that I have for you for combat at this time. We are going to be getting into quest and dialogue very, very soon. So I thank you for your time and for your understanding. And I thank you for your patronage. Please make sure you like and subscribe. And if you are willing and able, buying me a coffee or joining my Patreon. Have a wonderful day.